Hello, and welcome back to our journey through Earth's incredible past. Today we're diving into the Silurian Period, a time of amazing recovery and innovation that began around 444 million years ago. Imagine a world just emerging from one of the greatest crises it had ever known, the Ordovician mass extinction. The planet was healing, and life was about to make some of its most groundbreaking moves. As the Silurian dawned, the Earth let out a long sigh of relief. The intense glaciation of the late Ordovician began to reverse. Giant ice sheets melted away, and the water flowed back into the oceans. This caused a dramatic rise in sea levels, flooding vast continental shelves and creating extensive warm, shallow seas. It was the perfect recipe for life to not just recover, but to thrive in ways it never had before. Think of it as a global reset button, setting the stage for a new era of biological creativity. In these balmy, sunlit waters, a new kind of architect got to work: corals. For the first time in Earth's history, massive coral reef systems began to form. These weren't just piles of rock, they were bustling underwater cities, creating complex habitats that supported an explosion of marine diversity. If you could snorkel in a Silurian sea, you'd be surrounded by strange and wonderful creatures. Trilobites, those armored arthropods of the ancient seas, were still around, but new players were entering the scene. One of the most significant developments was the rise of jawed fish. Before the Silurian, most fish were jawless, sucking up food from the seafloor. But now, fish like the placoderms evolved jaws, a revolutionary adaptation that turned them into formidable predators. This innovation triggered an evolutionary arms race. Prey developed better defenses, like thicker shells, and predators became more efficient hunters. The marine food web grew more complex and dynamic than ever before. Giant sea scorpions called eurypterids patrolled these waters. Some growing to be the size of a human, it was a vibrant and sometimes dangerous world beneath the waves. But as incredible as the ocean's comeback was, the most revolutionary change during the Silurian was happening quietly, at the water's edge. For billions of years, the land had been a barren, rocky wasteland. But now, life was making its first tentative steps out of the water. The pioneers of this great invasion were plants. Simple, non-vascular plants, similar to modern mosses and liverworts, began to colonize moist, coastal areas. They were soon followed by the first vascular plants, like Cooksonia. These tiny, branching stalks may not look like much, but they were a game-changer. Vascular tissues allowed them to transport water and nutrients, enabling them to grow taller and move further inland. As these first green carpets spread, they began to transform the planet. Their roots held soil in place, preventing erosion, and through photosynthesis, they pumped more oxygen into the atmosphere. They were literally terraforming the Earth, preparing it for what was to come. And where plants go, animals are sure to follow. The first land animals were small arthropods, creatures already equipped with a supportive exoskeleton and jointed legs, perfect for moving on solid ground. Fossil evidence shows us that tiny creatures resembling millipedes and early scorpions were among the first to venture out of the water, likely feeding on the decaying plant matter that was now available. These were the true pioneers, the first animals to breathe air and walk upon the land. So, the Silurian period, lasting until about 419 million years ago, was a pivotal chapter in our planet's story. It was a time of healing, of flourishing reefs and fearsome sea monsters. But most importantly, it was the period when life finally broke free from the ocean and began its conquest of the continents. The greening of the land had begun, setting the stage for the lush forests and complex terrestrial ecosystems of the following Devonian period. The world was no longer just a blue marble, it was becoming a green one too. Thanks so much for joining me on this trip back to the Silurian. If you enjoyed this journey, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure in Earth's history. See you next time.